Hi there, it's Joe Johnson, host of Beatle Brunch here on the Flower Power Cruise, and we've got some Flower Power royalty, Mr. Peter Asher.
Thank you very much.
You do a great job on the cruises, not only
you.
in presenting the bands with your information, but your shows.
It's so much fun. The cruise is great. The audiences are great. The shows are fun. It's been a pleasure.
And especially that you're able to bridge the 60s and 70s. 60s, of course.
Well, yes, because I think of the 60s ending in about 68 from a particular point of view, because I was Peter and Gordon from the early 60s to about 68, and then at that point I started managing and producing people like James Taylor and Linda Ronstadt, and that's to me when the 70s started. So that's where I can fit both cruises in, I think.
And you do, on your second piece, the 70s, you do talk a lot about those records.
Exactly so, yes, exactly.
So it's fantastic that we have you here. And how different would your life be if you had never met the Beatles?
I don't know is the answer. I mean, it's a very good question and an important question, but I just don't know the answer because Gordon and I were singing together, and we did get signed by a major record label. Whether or not we'd have had a hit without Love, which was a Paul McCartney song that came my way through coincidence, I don't know. I think at the time, when the label signed us, they were thinking we would be like folky. We would be like Britain's answer to the Kingston Trio.
Or like an Everly Brothers or something like that?
Well, I'd like to think so. But no, we loved it when people called us the British Everly Brothers. That was the highest compliment anyone could pay. But no, I think they thought we were going to be like Peter and Paul without Mary or something like that, somewhere in the folky world. So I have no idea where we'd be without the Beatles.
Okay.
But none of us do. I mean, music wouldn't be the same without the Beatles. So Peter and Gordon's career is a mere detail.
And didn't Paul live in your family home for a while?
He did for about 2 years.
And supposedly wrote Yesterday there? And
he did.
Were you living there at the time?
Yes, I was.
Did you hear any banging around on the piano and songs being created and written?
Yes, in some cases, yes. Not Yesterday. I was away on the road myself when Yesterday was written. Because Paul, you may have heard the story, but he woke up thinking that it was a pre-existing song. Mm-hmm. He had this melody in his head, the da-da-da, da-da-da-da, all that stuff. And the first person to hear it was my mother, actually, because she was making him a cup of tea in the morning, and he said, "Do you know this song? Because I've got it stuck in my head." And she didn't. And she said, "No, I think that's your invention." And I was not there that day, so I cannot bear witness. But my mum did say that Paul had this excellent song in his head that he thought might have come from being heard, but she had convinced him that he had written it, which he did.
I wonder if you could have went to Paul at that time and said, "You heard me playing it. It's my song, actually, Paul." That's
the most brilliant idea I've ever heard. I wish I'd thought of it at the time. Yes, exactly. I should go to him and say, "You know what? You were right. I thought of it the night before."
It's not too late.
I fear it is. Yeah, I fear it is. And in that occasion, it's me and Jeremy Clyde, who is half of Chad and Jeremy, of course. And what happened is, Gordon, of course, is sadly no longer with us. He died about 10 years ago. And Chad Stewart has now retired. So Jeremy and I looked at each other and kind of went, well, it's Peter and Jeremy. And so it is. So we, that way I get to sing these songs that I've always loved and only sang as a customer, as it were. Yesterday's Gone and things like that. So Jeremy and I get to do all these songs together, both sets of hits, both sets of stories. Between us we have whatever it is, over 100 years of stories. Wow. Tragically, that's true. And so we have a great time doing that, and I'm looking forward to it very much.
And of course, your show From Me to You on Sirius XM is brilliant. It's probably the best thing on that channel. It's really
thank you
fantastic.
very much.
I love it.
You could be right, and thank you very much.
Yes, I could be right. And you wrote Yesterday, and that's why we're all here.
That's right, exactly.
All right, Mr. Peter Asher, it's always a great pleasure working with you on the Flower Power and on the Rock and Romance, and maybe we can add another cruise. You can convince the powers that be that we know about the '80s disco era.
One never knows. Yeah, yes. We know about everything.
We do.
Let's face
it. Fantastic. Well, thanks for being on the show, and thanks for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.